Just going to grab a quick look at our reference again. And we do have to add a couple holes in here, one for the barrel obviously, and then we have this piece over here. I'm not sure what this is actually for, but we're going to have to put a hole in there for it. So let's maybe worry about the front before we actually finish off the box. Just going to actually detach this front face, I think. So let's grab that polygon and just detach it. Just make sure you don't have either of these ticked on and just hit OK. We'll exit polygon, and I'm going to put some holes in it. You can reuse the plane if you want to, and just modify this with some holes. It might be quicker to just make a new shape. So let's jump into the back view. And I think I'll just draw this out of a rectangle spline. So let's go back into the create panel to shapes, grab a rectangle, and I'm just going to draw one out that kind of matches the height and the width of our inner face here. So we'll just go a bit bigger than those inner edges. Something like that maybe. And let's just use the align tool here and just click on our box. And we'll just tick on all three of these, X, Y, and Z, center and center, and OK. And it looks like it fits pretty good. So let's just maybe use a circle shape here to create these holes. So I'm just going to grab one of those and just draw one out here. And I'm going to go a little bigger than the inner radius of this ring right here. There's actually a piece on the outside, as you can see. So I think I might just use another shape to actually create that, maybe a cylinder. So I'm just going to leave my hole a little bit bigger than that inner radius. I'll just kind of center it. And then we'll shift drag a copy over for this one. Copy it, just make sure it's kind of centered, and we'll just take the radius down a little bit on this one. We'll just say like 14, doesn't really matter. Alright, so let's grab our three shapes. Just gonna go in isolation mode here, Alt Q. Just want to make sure these are actually aligned with each other. You can see they're actually not lined up. And we're going to attach them together, so we want to make sure they're perfectly aligned. So let's just jump into the perspective window for a sec, and we'll just use the align tool here again to make sure everything's lined up properly. So let's grab one of the circles. We'll just use the align tool, click on our rectangle. This time we want to do it only on the y-axis, so let's untick X and Z, and we'll just leave it on center and center and say OK. We'll do the same thing with this one. Same settings, just on the Y, and OK. We just want to make sure it's not going to actually center it to the piece, so just do it on the y-axis. That looks pretty good. I think everything stayed in the right place. So we'll just attach them together. So let's just grab the rectangle, convert it to an editable spline, and just use attach to attach the two circles to it, so it's one shape. And we'll just use a shell modifier here again, just to get some thickness on it. So let's put one on, jump out into perspective. And I think we might want to trash most of this, so let's just leave it at the default 1 on the outer amount, and we'll just convert it to poly. Grab the outer face, invert the selection, Control I, and just delete the rest of it there, so we're working with a planar surface again. And I'm going to jump back into the back view, exit isolation mode. Alright, let's exit polygon for a second. I'm just going to grab that other polygon in there, if I can. Alright, let's look at perspective. I'm just going to get that face that we detached from the box and just delete it. We don't need it for now. It'll just make it a little easier to see what we're doing. And we'll chuck our blue shader onto our new rectangle shape. And you can see on the blueprints here I have some edges cut in, so I'm just going to do that quickly. So let's select our rectangle. And I'm just going to use cut here. I'm just going to cut some ones in just to kind of clean this up. Let's actually go in isolation mode and do it. And I just want to make sure we're not going to have any problems when we render it. So we're just going to cut in a couple of edges. I'm going to start right on the top of the circle here on the vert, and just cut up to the top edge like that. Right click. Do the same thing at the bottom. Let's actually leave this one for a second. I'm just going to put the other ones in first, because I think we're going to have a problem if we do it right now. So let's just add one over here on the right, connecting the circle to the outside, and we'll do the same thing on the left side. Over to this edge. Right click, and let's try doing this one here. Same way, so I'm just going to cut it right up to the top. Right click, cut one over here. And I think I'll just put one on both sides on the top and the bottom of each circle. So let's just cut all the way across here. And we'll go down to the bottom edge. And now we'll try to put this one in here. It should let us. So just click on the bottom vert, down to the bottom edge, click and then right click. And we'll see if we can get rid of these guys here. So just go back to edge, grab these 4 edges. And if we hit Control Backspace right now, it's going to screw our corner up because it's going to take out that vert, as you can see. So just undo that, and instead of using Control Backspace, we're just going to click on Remove here, get rid of the edges, and we'll go back to Vertex. And we're going to have a couple of straight verts, as you can see here, so I'm going to grab these 2, and we'll try to remove them. It might screw it up, but we'll see. Okay, remove, and you can see it kind of screwed up the face here, so let's undo that. just exit vertex, and we're gonna have to cut another edge in, so let's go back to cut, and I think I might connect these together. And let's also maybe just add an extra one from one of these verts on the circle down to the bottom corner. Okay, and then we'll go back to vertex, and we'll see if we can get rid of these ones now. So I'm gonna grab that one and this one, hit remove, and it looks like it maintained the shape, so that's good. So let's exit vertex, just exit isolation mode, and we'll jump into perspective and just move this forward so it's kind of in the right spot. Okay, so drag it up. I'm actually gonna let it just butt up against the back edge of our box here. So we'll just move it in. We don't want to have any gaps. And that should work out fine, I think. Alright, so that takes care of the face piece. Let's actually look at the barrel here. And it's pretty beefy, as you can see. It's not too complicated. It has this slot cut in the top, but that's not really a big deal. So I think we'll just start with a cylinder. Alright, so back into the back view, and let's just grab a cylinder here on the crate panel, standard primitives, and we'll just draw one out, kind of centered on the hole there. And I'm just going to stop on the inside edge and just give it some random height. Let's just give this a cap segment for a second. I'm just going to crank the size up here too because we want this to be pretty smooth, so let's take it up to maybe 50. Alright, let's go all the way up to 60. It looks like that's what I used before. We want it to be nice and smooth, so the more sides the better. Alright, so we can turn the cap segment off now. Let's just convert this to poly. And I'm just going to go to polygon and just grab all the faces on it. Do this in the perspective view so we can see a little easier. Alright, so get all the faces, and I'm just going to drag through and deselect everything else besides the caps, holding Alt. Alright, grab those two. And we'll just delete these so we don't need them. So trash those. I'm just going to pull this out so we can actually see it better. So we'll pull it out front. We don't need all these height segments either, so let's just grab those and get rid of them. So we'll just grab an edge on each of these loops. Loop them, control backspace them, turn off edge, and we'll throw our blue shader on here. And the reason I only went to the inside of the radius here is just so we can actually use a shell modifier. I'm going to cut the slot in first, and then we'll shell it to get our thickness. So let's go to edge, jump into the right view, and let's just actually make sure this thing's long enough to start. Alright, so I'm just going to pull the back edges back, and we'll pull the front ones forward. And you can see the radius is too small, so we'll have to fix that. So let's go into the top view. And I'm just going to use scale here just to kind of make this a little bit wider. So we'll do a uniform scale right on the triangle. Alright, we'll just go up to the width is about right. And then we'll just move our verts back until it matches. Alright, this one looks pretty good. We want it just inside that edge. So I'm just going to leave that right there, and we'll jump back into the right view. And we'll just go to edge. I'm just going to cut an edge in here. So let's drag through, do a connect, just say OK here, and just move it over. Just going to center it between those two edges, and we'll do a chamfer to get the gap between them. So we'll crank this up. It looks like about 9 should be cool, so we'll say OK to that. I'm just going to kind of straighten it out so it's even, and we'll try to figure out how many polygons we need to delete. So let's take a look at our reference. And as you can see, the slot comes down just past the center point. So let's go to polygon. I'm just going to drag through, grab some faces. Let's check this out in perspective. You might be able to do one more, so let's grab this one and this one. So I have the top 38 selected. I'm just going to delete these out of there like that, and we'll jump back into the back view, and we'll just exit polygon, throw a shell modifier on here, and this will give us some thickness. So I'm just going to zero out the outer amount, and we'll just crank this up. I want to come in a little bit until it matches the blueprint. So it looks like about 8.75 or so should be good. Take a look out here and make sure it's going to work. Alright, it looks pretty good. I'm just going to tick on straighten corners here. And I think that should work fine. It doesn't look like we have any problems, so we'll just leave it at that. We'll convert it to poly again. And let's take another look here. So we do have this base piece on that's a little bit thicker, so we're going to put that in. We can't see this on the blueprint from the side because it's blocked by the edge of our box here, so I'm just going to guess at it. So let's just grab an edge on the outside. We'll do a ring. And we'll connect. Just gonna add one in there, say okay, and we'll just slide this back. I'm gonna maybe put it right about there. Zoom in, just grab an edge here, do a ring on that, control click polygon, and we're just gonna extrude this, but let's do it in the back view so we can see the print. So we'll extrude, you wanna be on local normal here. And let's just go up a bit, maybe about 13. Should be good, and we'll say okay. Just going to take another look at the reference here, and you can see the back edge there is pretty beveled, so let's just grab one of these edges here, and we'll loop it, chamfer it, and we'll just do this fairly wide to kind of flatten it out, so let's go up a bit on that. 5 should be good, so we'll say that's cool, hit OK, exit edge, and let's just go in isolation mode here for a second, Alt Q. And I'm going to trash the back polygons, but I'm going to chamfer this back edge first. So let's loop that. Chamfer will go down quite a bit. Let's go maybe around 1 or just under. Say okay, and then I think we can get rid of these. So let's grab these two edges here, ring those, control click polygon, and we'll just trash these. We don't need them. So delete those out of there. And then we'll just chamfer down some of these other edges. And the edges are fairly hard, so let's just start in here. I'm just going to grab both these guys. Loop, chamfer. Let's tighten these up a little bit. 0.4, 0.5, something like that on these guys. And then we'll do this one here. I'm going to do it the same amount, so just hit OK. And then we'll do the hole here. So let's just grab these guys. And we'll loop those, and then we'll just go in and manually grab the ones around the bottom of the slot on both sides. And if you want to, you could cut this thing in half and just work on one side and then mirror it over or use symmetry, but either way, it doesn't matter. So let's grab all 160 of these guys and we'll chamfer. And let's go up a tiny bit on these. About 0.5 or so. Should be good, and then we'll just do the 2 loops on the end of the barrel. So loop these, chamfer. I think these guys I'm going to take up just slightly. Probably around 1. Looks good. So let's exit edge and just take a look here. Grab another look at our picture. I think we're fairly close. So again, we're going to probably need some smoothing groups on it. It's looking a little rough back here. So we'll just do this quickly the same way we did before. So let's just go to edge, and I'm going to start right here on the chamfer. Ring that, control click polygon, and we'll just give it a number. And then I'm going to do these beveled faces right here. So grab those, control click polygon, give it a different number. And we'll do this one as well. And we might as well do this guy while we're at it. So grab one of these. And we'll just move up, see if anything else looks weird. All right, these ones are looking a little rough as well. You can kind of see it on the inside there, so grab one of these. I'm going to ring this. I don't know if it's going to go all the way around. Looks like it will. So control click polygon. I'll just put this all on one. So let's just give it a different number. And we'll do the same thing on the inside. All right, this is a pretty small detail. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, so don't worry about it too much. That looks better, and we'll just do the end here to finish it off. So let's grab this guy and the one on the inside. Looks good. Alright, so let's exit and just see how this looks with the rest of it in here. And I think that's looking fairly good. It's pretty smooth, so let's just do a save and then we'll move on to the next piece, which is pretty easy. So we'll jump into the back view one more time. And we'll just create this simple shape on the inside here. And like I said before, it's basically just a cylindrical shape, so we'll just use a cylinder. So let's just grab one here and I'm just going to draw it out. Just give it some height. Let's actually just open our material editor and just apply the blue to it. I think we can lower the sides here, so let's jump into perspective and just pull it forward. And we'll go into the modify panel here, just trash our height segments, we don't need those, and I'm going to take the sides way down. Now you do want to have enough to have a smooth result, so let's go up to maybe like, we'll just do 40. That's a lot, but it's okay. Should be smooth enough. Alright, so let's go into isolation mode on this. Q. We'll convert it to poly. Just checking to see if it's smooth enough. It looks good, so let's just grab these faces here on the front and back, exit isolation mode, jump into the back view, and we'll just inset these. So let's inset, and I'm just going to go up until it just goes inside the radius of the circle there, or the hole. Alright, so about 7.5 or so, it looks good. Alright, jump back out here, and let's just bridge this to create the hole, and I'm just going to exit polygon and go in isolation mode here so we can see a bit better. So I'll Q again, let's turn our material back so we can actually see what we're doing, and we'll just chamfer down some of the edges. You can't really see this on this angle, so let's try this one. And it's pretty much impossible to see what it actually looks like, so we'll just kind of wing this. So let's just grab an edge here, we'll do a ring on that, and a loop, and I'm just going to do all 4 of the edges at once, so we'll chamfer. Let's tighten it up maybe a little bit. About 0.75 or so should be good for that, I think, and let's check and see if we need some smoothing groups, which we do. So let's just do this quickly the same way. Just get a poly selection and give it a number, and we'll do the same thing here. I'm going to do the ones on the back, even though you probably really won't see it. It only takes a second. Alright, so just grab those as well. And I think that's all I really need to do for this piece, so let's just exit isolation mode again. Zoom in here, just want to make sure you don't see the inside of the hole poking through, so that looks pretty good. Yeah, we are going to need to have something in here to kind of, give the illusion that this is actually a barrel that goes somewhere on the inside. So what we might want to actually do here is delete the back faces. So let's go around to the back in isolation mode. I'm just going to actually do a ring around here. Get a poly selection. I'm going to actually trash these. We don't need them, I don't think. And let's actually maybe trash this inner and back chamfer as well. Alright, so grab those faces, delete them, and I'm just going to use border here. I'll grab the inside of the hole and just pull it back, alright, just to kind of create a barrel. And let's actually check this out and see how it's looking. Might want to go in a little bit farther, so I'm just going to yank this back. Just want to go far enough that, if you do a render from out here, you're not really going to see that it doesn't go anywhere. So that should probably be okay, and I think we might even be able to reuse this piece down here. I'm just going to take a better look at it. The shape might be a little bit different. It looks like it has a slight bevel to the outside, so we might want to just make a new one for that. And we could probably just do it the same way. So just going to jump into the right view first and just make sure this is actually sitting against the surface of our plate here. So there's no gaps, so that looks good, and we'll just start working on the next piece. So let's jump into the back view again. Go over to the other hole, and we'll just do this quickly the same way. So let's grab another cylinder, draw one out. I'm going to go a little bigger than the hole this time, maybe like that. Give it some random height, and we'll just kind of make sure it's centered in here. Taking a look, and this one's fairly thick, as you can see, so that's why I'm going bigger with the radius. Alright, let's jump out into perspective and just move this forward again so we can see what we're doing. Alright, so just get it on the outside of the surface, and it'll help us judge a little better. And you can kind of see on the blueprint back here that it's sticking out, so I'm just going to actually check this in the right view and just make sure we're kind of going the right distance away from the surface. Looks like we're pretty close, so let's just convert it to poly. Just grab the outside verts here. I'll do this in wireframe so you can see a bit better. So just get all these ones and then just move it out until it matches the print. And then I think we'll just give this a little bit more detail. So let's exit vertex, go in isolation mode again. I'm going to check on the blue shader one more time. And like I said, I think it's slightly beveled there. It's kind of hard to tell, so let's just maybe do a couple of loops around here. So I'm just going to ring this edge, and we'll do a connect. Let's give this a couple, maybe 2. Say okay to that, and I'm just going to go to scale and just do a uniform scale on these 2 loops. Alright, we'll just bring it up slightly. to get a bit of a bevel on that. You can actually do this in the right view. It's probably easier to see what kind of curve we're getting. So I'm just going to go up like that, and then we'll just chamfer these down to kind of smooth everything out. So let's just go up a bit. All right, we'll go maybe there, and I'm going to do another one. All right, something like that, just to kind of have a smooth curve. And you can probably do a better job than I did. That doesn't look too great, but I'm just going to leave it for the sake of speed, and we'll just punch our hole in. So let's just grab the front and back faces, jump back out into the back view, exit isolation mode, and we'll just inset these again. So let's go in. Again, I'm going to go just inside the hole. So it looks like about 10 or close to it. Should be good. Say okay to that. Let's exit polygon. I just want to make sure this is actually centered, which it's not. So I'm just going to move it down and over a little bit. Looks good right there. And then I think we might want to do the same thing we did with the barrel. So let's go in isolation mode one more time on it. Just grab the front and back face again, bridge it, and we'll just trash these back faces here. I'm just going to chamfer this edge first. So let's loop this on the back. Just do a slight chamfer on it, say okay, and then we'll grab these edges, ring them, get a poly selection, and just delete them, and then we'll just pull the border in like we did with the other one. Alright, just yank this back, and we'll exit. Just going to go to wireframe here, and I'm just going to pull it back. You can actually check this in the right view if you want to actually have it match what we did on the other one. Doesn't really matter, but we'll do it something like that. And like I said, I'm not really sure what this piece is even for, so this might be totally incorrect. But it'll just give the illusion that it actually, is there for some purpose and it goes somewhere on the inside. So that's probably fine. So let's go back into isolation mode. Let's chamfer on the rest of the edges. All right, so back to edge. Let's grab the front one here and just loop that, and we'll chamfer. Just gonna round this over a little bit. So let's go up, and then we'll hit apply and just do a double on it. And I think I'll do the same thing down here. So loop it, chamfer. Just go up a little bit and then just hit apply and do a double. Just so it looks a little different than the previous one we made. Alright, that's probably fine. It's definitely going to need some smoothing groups here. And again, the top doesn't look totally awesome. You could probably do a better job than I did on that if you want to take a little more time. But I'm just going to quickly add some smoothing groups to finish it off. So just do it the same way we've been doing. I think on the double chamfer here, I'm just going to do all three of these edges at the same time. So we'll grab all three of these and just give them a number, and we'll do the same thing down here on the inside. Just assign a different number. Just smooth things out a bit. And that doesn't look too bad, so let's exit and we'll just take one more look, make sure it's fitting the surface the way we want. Again, we just want to make sure it's not sticking in like this or out like this, so there's gaps. So we'll just back it in until it just touches like that. And we just have one more piece, which is the light up here, and I didn't actually put a hole in for that because it's really not necessary, so we're just going to create this out of a different object. It's kind of hard to tell what the shape looks like, so I think we'll just kind of make it simple. So let's jump back into the back view again. I just want to see where the position is of it. Alright, so it's right here, so I think let's try maybe doing this out of a capsule. So let's just go into the create panel again. I'm going to drop the rollout down to extended primitives, and we'll just grab a capsule here. And I'm just going to draw one out again that's about the size. It's kind of hard to tell on the blueprint here, so we'll just go out like that and just give it some height. Let's pull this forward here. And you can kind of see the end of it there on the blueprint, so I'm just going to see if I can kind of match that. I don't know if we can see it in the top here or not. Oh yeah, we can, so I'm just going to move it up until it kind of matches where I had it before. And we might want to turbo smooth this, so I'm just going to leave it at the default of 12 sides, I think. All right, let's go up to 18 just to make sure it's somewhat smooth. And everything else I think I'll leave as is. We'll just convert it to poly. And I'm just going to get rid of some of it here, so let's grab the back end, all those faces, and let's just grow this a little bit. So I'm just going to grow a couple times, and I think I'll just delete this. So we'll delete that stuff and we'll just start working on the back here. So let's just grab the border of it, and I'm just going to do this completely blind, so I'm just going to shift drag it back a little bit. Let's actually do this in the right view so we can actually see the profile. Alright, so just shift dragging it back a little bit, and I'm going to do it again. it looks like it kind of tapers in, so let's just scale this second extrusion in a little bit. Pull it back again. And I think I might scale it down slightly. And let's go back to move, and I'm just going to shift drag it back like this. Something like that maybe. And then we'll go back to scale, and I'm going to shift scale it just to get some height. Move it back. Shift drag it again with move. And I'm just kind of creating a little base for it. I don't really know how accurate it's going to be, so we'll do something like that. I'm just going to check it in the perspective view. I don't know if this is way off of what we actually want it to look like. I think it's too long for starters. So I'm just going to move it back like that. Let's just grab all these verts here. Push them back in so it's not sticking out so far. And I think I might squish this a bit, so let's grab all these verts. And I'm just going to use scale here and just scale it down on the X just to kind of make it so it's not so rounded. And then we'll just move these back a bit. Alright, take a quick look here. And that's probably usable. It's not the awesomest light you've ever seen, but it should be okay. If you want to take more time, you could definitely do a better job, but I think we'll just leave it like that and move on. So let's just finish it off quickly. I'm just going to shift drag the back border in a little bit. And we'll just start chamfering some of the edges. So let's grab this back one to start. We'll loop this. Chamfer it. I'm going to do this fairly tight because we were going to put a turbo smooth on, so we'll go down to like 0.2 on that, and I'm going to do the same thing on these two, I think. So we'll grab these guys, loop them, chamfer them, tighten them up a little bit. And we might want to do this one just to hold the shape, so let's loop this guy, chamfer him, go up a little bit, 0.25 or so, say okay, and we'll just exit edge. I'm going to throw a turbo smooth on here and we'll see what kind of shape we get. We have some triangles up front we might need to fix. So let's just put one on, and we'll do 2 iterations isoline. I'm going to throw the blue shader on here so we can actually see it. Take a look, and it's really not totally close to what we have here, but it might be okay. So let's just take a look out here and see if this looks totally weird or not. It's looking a little too big, I think, in the front. Let's check it out in the back view. I'm just going to scale it down slightly, just like that, and I think I'm going to pull out the back edge a little bit. So let's go back into the right view. Drop back down to edit poly for a sec, and we'll just go to vertex, and I'm just going to grab the verts on that back part and just scale these up a little bit just to make it a little bit bigger back here. All right, let's keep an eye on it in this view. All right, so we'll just go out until that back edge matches the radius on the print. And let's just turn on show and result for a second. All right, the shape's holding up okay. Let's check it out in perspective one more time. And yeah, it's not awesome, but I think I'll leave it. And again, if you want to take some more time, you can probably get it, a little closer to this shape. It's kind of hard to tell, but I think we'll leave it. We'll move on. We'll start finishing off the box here, and then we'll move to the back. We have the big cylindrical piece we need to actually create next, I think, and then we'll start working on the arm down here. And I think that'll be about it. So let's do a save. And I'm just looking at this piece right here again. It still looks too big to me. Even though I think it matched the blueprint, I'm just going to take another look. It's looking a little too big, I think. Let's take a look at our reference again. Yeah, I don't think we want the hole that massive, so let's actually just do a scale on this. I'm just going to scale it down uniformly, so it's a little bit smaller than we originally had it. Take a look out here. Alright, that's a bit better, but I think the hole's still too big in radius, so let's actually just maybe shrink it down a bit. I'm just going to jump back into the back view, and let's just grab the verts on the inside. So I'm just going to change my selection mode here from the drag rectangle to the paintbrush, and I'm just going to click and hold down the button and just paint around all these verts on the inside of the hole, and just make sure we get all of them. So go all the way around, take a look, make sure we got everything. That looks good, so let's just go into the back view again. I'm going to do another uniform scale here. And we'll just take the radius down a little bit, like that. And it's going to kind of angle our faces here on the front, as you can see in perspective. So we'll just jump into the right view to fix that. So let's go to wireframe, and I'm just going to change this back to the drag rectangle. Hold Alt, deselect the back ones there, and we'll just move these ones forward until they're kind of flush again. And you can leave a little angle on it if you want to, if you like what that looks like. But I'm just going to kind of even everything out as best I can. Alright, so jump back to perspective, turn off vertex, and we'll just take a look and see if that looks better. And I think it's a bit of an improvement. So we'll call the front done, and we'll move up to the box here. And I'm just going to finish this off before we move and start working on the can. So let's go into isolation mode on this. Alt Q. And let's take a look at a reference. So the outer edges here are fairly soft, so we might want to do a double chamfer on that. Let's just zoom in here quickly and grab this one. We'll loop this chamfer. Don't want to go too wide, so I'm just going to back it off a bit. Alright, let's go maybe around 0.9 or so on the first one. Then I'm going to hit apply and just do a smaller amount, and we'll kind of roll it over. That looks pretty good. And I think on the inside we can probably just do a single, so let's grab the inside edge. We'll loop that and chamfer, and we'll just raise this up a bit. Maybe around 1. I think that should be good. Okay, so exit edge, let's turn off our edges, and now that we've altered the faces, our smoothing groups are gone that we put on there before. And like I mentioned earlier, it didn't really look totally great when we had those smoothing groups turned on, but I think that's going to be the way we're going to have to kind of do it, because we obviously want to smooth the corners out, and if we just apply separate smoothing groups to these faces here, say, which I'll do right now, you can see the hard edge you get where the groups are separated. And I don't really think that looks right, so yeah, I think the best thing to do is just kind of give the whole outside its own smoothing group. So I'm just going to select these faces again, just hit clear all down here to get rid of that smoothing group. Go back to edge, we'll just grab an edge on the corner and ring it. Control click polygon, just so we have the whole entire outside selected. I'm going to hit clear all down here, and then just give it a number. And then turn off polygon. And it's not perfect, as you can see, but I think it looks better doing it this way than it does just doing it on the corners. So we'll leave it like that, and I'm just going to go and do the same thing on the inside of the front here. So ring around there, get all those guys, and just give it a different number, and then I think we'll just smooth the chamfers down a bit. So again, I'm going to do all 3 of these at once. And we'll just do the single one on the inside here. And I think these corners up here could have been maybe a little higher res than we made them. But I think when you're looking at the entire model zoomed out, it's going to be smooth enough. And I think that should be good to go. Alright, so now that we have that done, we'll move down to the back and start working on the can. I'm just going to do a save now that we've corrected that.